Okay, move you guys up here. Welcome again. I am super happy to be talking to everyone, and I want all of you guys to look your best during interviews. So let's get started. This will be posted on the FCEP Medical Student Council YouTube as well as their resource folder. And we will be giving you these QR codes there so that you can have them. They're up on your screen now so that you can get involved and have more information about what is coming up and what is next. Okay, these are the other recorded sessions available. I would highly suggest that you take a look at these, especially if you're a third year, so up and currently a third year, preparing for your fourth year, choosing strategies, understanding what SLOs are, building your applications for MS1 through MS4, or I should say medical student. So if you guys have any questions, you can refer to our website. This is where I'm coming from, which I will not repeat myself. I've repeated myself a bunch. The most important thing you need to know is I've been doing this a long time, but I am always open to hearing what the students of Florida need to help them succeed in matching to a great residency in EM. Okay. This is a QR code for the EMRA and CORD Student Advising Guide. The people on these committees are very, very well versed, the experts in our field on advising students. So I would highly recommend it. It's online now. It's not a physical book anymore. We've now come to the 21st century, so they're on it. All right, what are we going to talk about today is the virtual interviews. So I put this slide up to demonstrate that there is a little bit of variation this year between how residents are interviewing their students. So some residencies will be virtual interviews only, and some residencies will have in-person interviews as well. I have heard of several residencies, very few, both California-based, that have decided to do only in-person interviews. And I don't know if they have decided to maintain that scenario or not. And then there is a combination. I believe Orlando Health, for example, is having virtual interviews and allowing in-person interviews. And then lots of programs are offering second looks. So these are the ways to interview with programs. And most of the interviews done this season are going to be virtual. So how do we help you guys put your best foot forward? So we're going to talk about technology, the set, and interview basics to get you ready. Okay, technology, not my favorite sometimes and my favorite other times, includes everything along the chain that allows you to communicate with your interviewers. And if you've ever interviewed for a job or interviewed someone else for a job or interviewed people trying to maybe join your med school, you were on an interviewing committee, you understand that that interaction and how you communicate with them is very important. So the virtual interview has some barriers to authentic communication, but then also allows you to communicate with people all over all the time. So what are all the steps of technology? Not steps, little links in the chain. There's the internet, computer hardware, computer software, battery life. These are all the ways that I feel like they come to haunt you, like the day of your interview, okay? Notification bombs, it has totally happened. Your camera stops working, it's not good. Your microphone stops working, your speaker. Christina's been on many Zooms with me, and it's like I have the same exact setup every time, and yet 1 in 5 my speakers don't work. I don't know. And then there's Zoom, WebEx, Thalamus, whatever you're using as an interface that can also go wrong or unexpected. So this is how you combat. Well, I have a technology curse. I don't know about you, but I have to combat that every day. Each day. And ahead of time, the interview, this is going to seem like overkill, but I'm telling you, it's not. Please take time to do this. Ahead of the time, you're going to test the internet. If you're staying at an Airbnb, for example, on a rotation when you're doing an interview, please don't sign into your computer and for the very first time ever, start Zoom 5 minutes before your interview. That's just poor form and not a good idea. 1 year I had to interview a candidate who, by the way, ended up matching with us, and she's absolutely amazing. She was living with her family in somewhere south of here, which is most of Florida. So you can make fun of me for my geography issues. But she was living in a what do they call it? An RV with her kids and her husband. And so she ended up, the internet for the whole RV park broke. She had to go to the laundry room of the RV park. Now, this was not her fault, but how stressful was that for her? And just don't let that happen, and do everything you can to prevent that. Computer hardware, make sure your computer's working. Computer software, this is a big one. How many times have you opened your computer? It's totally fine the first 500 times, and then 501st time you need to actually do something, and there's some kind of update or some kind of issue that is preventing you from using your computer. Camera. We're going to talk about the cameras in a little bit. And I'm going to appeal to your sense of understanding of how important this interview interaction is, and ask that you consider purchasing an actual camera to plug into your laptop. So a webcam. I'm not asking for anything more. It's under $100, but it's going to make your life more seamless. It's going to make your interview easier, and it's going to make your interviewers happier, which is, at the end of the day, a better place to be than making them frustrated. Okay. Microphone, there are microphones built into most webcams. And then, of course, speakers, which is my personal issue. And then meeting platform. Run Zoom with a family member. We're going to talk about practice, and run WebEx. Try to see, Thalamus, there's a test site. Go in, understand what your residency interview is going to be on, and try to at least look at their website. All right, new habitat. So you can do all those things ahead of time. But again, if you go and I've interviewed people while they're on vacation with their family. So they're in a hotel in Jamaica. Check the camera, microphone, speaker, and internet more than 1 minute before your interview. I promise you this habit will benefit you. The day of, more than 10 minutes before your interview, please check again, camera, microphone. Oh, I misspelled microphone, speaker, internet, and the platform. And we'll talk a little bit later, but the coordinator of whichever residency you're interviewing with will really, really, really notice and appreciate if you sign on ahead of time and you are present and everything's working, ready to go. They notice who comes in right at the last minute and signs on, or all those people who have problems. They notice. Now, are you going to have a problem at least once during interview season? Absolutely. It's going to happen. No big deal. But if every single interview you're having a problem, that's stressful, and we need to take steps to prevent it. Okay. The internet. The internet slows everything down, and at some point there may be a problem. Each program should have a plan B. Okay. It's like the difficult airway course. Get your bougie and have it ready. Because if you can't innovate the one way, you need to have a backup. So our program, for example, we send out PDFs with every attending who is interviewing you, and we include their personal cell, and you are to call their personal cell if whatever happens, connectivity is lost. So each program should be providing you with that second way to deal with it. And you should always have the program coordinator's phone to be able to get in touch with them, because the last thing you want to do is just disappear from your interview. But if something happens to internet and you address it, you call the coordinator, you say, I'm so sorry, I don't understand what's happening. Maybe it's even on their end, then you'll be seen as following through, responsible party, etc. Okay, camera, microphone, speaker. This is me on the right with the red hat, okay? This is you who get frustrated by their equipment on the left. I am again going to tell you, and I will show you in the next slide, my personal suggestion, which I own no stock in any company whatsoever, but what I use and I appreciate. If you have a lot of equipment problems, it will absolutely stress you out. The picture of me in a few years is there to let you know that on the whole, the people interviewing you are going to be at least 10 years older than you, maybe even 20. I'm just saying. we did not grow up FaceTiming everyone with our phones and living in like this little box. We did not grow up that way. So when I interview someone, I find it very unnatural and very difficult. I'm much better at it now, but it's hard for me to connect with you through the screen. And I think that's important for you to acknowledge. Should that keep you from matching at the perfect match of a residency? No, none of this will determine your fate in the world. But if you're interviewing someone, you want to just get all of that out of the way so that you can just let yourself and them connect and let yourself shine. So do the person a favor and make it easiest for them. And what I mean by that is have a camera. We're going to talk a little bit about placement and also have appropriate lighting. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. That is going to help them see you and be able to see your expression and really feel like a much more natural connection, which is what you really want in an interview. Okay. All right. So I have a Logitech Brio and I can't remember how much it was. I have a few versions ago, I'm sure, but I love this picture because it really does demonstrate the difference between a laptop camera and the Brio. So there are other webcams. You don't have to choose Logitech Brio. You don't have to choose that. It's just an example within a class. I want you to consider what the difference might be. And right now we'll see, there'll be some lighting in the next few slides. And I want you to really pay attention to that. Part of what the laptop camera versus an actual camera does is frame you. So you have a much more natural, like your eye, when you're looking at someone, you're actually seeing them in somewhat of a frame, but you're not seeing them like this, and you're not seeing them like this. And so it is easier, again, to feel like you're having an authentic in-person conversation, which is what people are striving to emulate with these platforms. Okay, so one piece of advice about the platforms, for example, Zoom, if the program is using Zoom, please check what picture is on your free screen. That has been a little bit hysterical at some points where people are used to Zooming with their study group and they have like a dancing taco or whatever. And not that that's gonna cross you off anybody's list, but just being complete about it and making sure that there's nothing inappropriate and that your name is appropriately spelled. And it's much easier if your name is what name is on the application, for example, but let's say you're Anthony and you like to go by Tony, Anthony parentheses Tony, and that way your interviewer doesn't have to worry about that. They just know it's right there under your name. It's like wearing a name tag. The last thing, of course, is background. There's been a lot of chatter about background over the years. And a couple things about background. One, you'll notice that some people have like a green screen behind them, or they don't have a green screen, but they use the filters that put like a picture of their school or whatever the case may be. And I will tell you that one of my faculty put a filter of, I think it was like a curtain on a stage, like a fancy red velvet like curtain, but it was just a plain background. And his suit was like brown, and he's Indian. And his, like, basically the whole thing, including him, was like the same color. So you have to look at, and it's easy because you're going to look what you can pull up your own picture by starting a Zoom and just looking at yourself. Another example of how that doesn't work well, that is very, very distracting, is if you have one of the filters, and like, let's say it's your, one of the people I Zoom with a lot, because we're doing group writing on a research project, is someone who lives in California, and they have their university logo over and over, like on the background, some kind of thing. Well, his actual background is not a green screen. So I keep getting these big chunks of like the actual background, which is like bookcases or something. And it's like super distracting because it's just not working. So if you have an area set aside, practice, which we're going to talk about in a minute, as to what your background looks like. The other debate and chatter about background is, what do you want in the background? And this is going to be entirely up to you. There's not one right answer. You don't want let's see, I think it's on the next slide. You don't want to have an inappropriate background, any curse words, anything that might distract people. You don't want to distract people from you, but you could have something in the background that is near and dear to you. So that if there's ever stalling, or you have one of those, I don't know, therapist background interviewers, and they want to ask you about something, that is totally legitimate. You can have something in the background. But ask people beforehand, Zoom them and ask them if it's distracting or not. So that will be up to you. Okay. So Zoom 2020, bam. My advice to you, and this is advice from several faculty, there were 3 of us who put together a student forum for EMRA, or part of the student forum for EMRA. And so this is really some advice, like coalescing from all of us talking amongst each other, who we've now done 3 years of entirely Zoom interviews. So my advice to you is get into character, like actually wear pants. I do advise that. There are some very unfortunate events that have occurred on even national TV. Nobody wants to see your underwear. That is a bad. Minimize offset distractions, which is not always easy, but can be important. Set lighting, we just spoke about, and I'll talk about one more time. And then set design. So your backgrounds, test them out, especially if you're using one of the filters. And then costume design, which we talked about a little bit, but you need to be careful about what, for example, a certain shirt with patterns example looks like on screen. Okay, let's get into lighting. I put these up here to demonstrate to you. So in the bottom right corner, this is Mana Varghese is was one of our chiefs. Actually, she's graduated now. And she took a screenshot of this. This is one of the candidates at a social event. So I'm sure you can see that there's a problem with this, because what is your purpose at the social event? Yes, you're seeing how everybody interacts, but you want to interact too, and people are trying to interact with you. This is an example of backlighting. So underlighting, blue screen lighting, and then this is an example of, this was a YouTuber who put this up as an instruction YouTube video on how important lighting is. So this is the same person, one with a ring light and the camera elevated, and the same person without the ring light and the camera down. And so I have a ring light because I'm old. Old people need ring lights. My camera is pretty good, so it's trying to adjust for the change in light. But you can see I have one iridescent light in my office. Half my face is lit and half is not. So can I do an interview like this? Is it possible? Yes. Do I want to? No. In fact, I don't want to look at that box with half my face like that. Okay. Lighting demonstration. This is another one. I think you guys have the idea. Okay. Set design. So everything in your background is fair game. So make sure you understand what's there. We already talked about some of the pitfalls and some of the benefits of the virtual background. Props are okay too. And then what the color of the background is. And I had already spoken to you about what happened to one of my faculty. He literally turned the same color of everything on his background. Even his suit was practically the same color. So no, you don't have to paint a wall in your house. You don't have to do that at all. But just be cognizant if you're wearing a black suit and there's a black chair in the background, whatever it is, just be cognizant and try it out beforehand. Okay, costume design. Here are some, I did put the pink suit in the corner, but no one's ever worn that for an interview. I just thought it was a good idea not to wear that. But these are some of the gaffes that can happen when you are trying to set up a wardrobe for interviews. I have had a problem with the glasses when somebody wears glasses that are highly reflective and I literally cannot see their eyes. It's like talking to someone wearing really dark sunglasses. You don't even know if they're looking at you. So it's something to keep in mind. Really stripy or geometrically busy patterns can also look very strange on some cameras and distracting. some shirts, especially sweater shirts, can actually turn a little bit see-through on camera. So I would be very careful and suggest that people are careful about what they're putting in the front of the camera. And it's easy. You just test it out. This isn't actually Good Morning America. This actually was aired. This guy actually was not wearing pants and did not realize his camera was pointed downwards. So it can happen to the best of us. Okay, test the set. I've already said this a million times, but I will tell you that you absolutely will be happy you did this and benefit, and pick someone who is not going to lie to you, okay? My best friends, not sure I would do it. They're so nice and supportive. No, you got to pick your frenemy who will tell you when you look like crap on camera, okay? And I'm making fun of it, but you want someone to be like, listen, your sweater doesn't look good, the background doesn't look good, and I can't see your face, or whatever it is. So pick someone and Zoom with them. That way you're checking your technology, you're checking your internet, and you're checking what your set looks like. And remember, the purpose of all of this is to take away distractions and allow you to have the best connection with your interviewer, which is how people become your advocate at the rankless table, okay? All right, so we've talked about all of this and we've gone over most of this. If there's any questions, please write in the chat. We can talk about it afterwards. All right, how to rock your virtual interviews. We've talked about technology, we've talked about the set. Let's talk a little bit about interview basics that have to do with the virtual interview as well. All right, this is whether you're virtually interviewing or not, but prepare and practice, and we've talked a lot about that. How do you prepare and practice for a virtual interview? Well, we talked about how you have to prepare with technology, you have to prepare the set, and now you have to prepare for the interview. Every single thing gets easier and better. I should not make that comment. I'll just narrow it down to interviewing. Interviewing is easier and less painful, and you get better at it after you practice. So how do I suggest you do that? Again, same slide. Zoom your roommate, Zoom your mom, Zoom your sister. Tell them that you want them to interview you. Do not let them go willy-nilly. You don't want to tell them where your diary is from 6th grade, okay? We're going to make it a serious thing. And one of the things that we do at my house, my son takes piano and we do performance practice. And performance practice is when you have to practice as if you are performing. He walks up to the piano, he bows, which is really hysterical. And he sits down at the piano as if he were in the concert hall. And by concert hall, I mean small church with a piano. And he acts like he's playing the piece. And if you mess up, you have to keep going as if you're in the middle of a concert. So I want you to do performance practice with your interviews. How are you going to do that with your mom or your sister or your brother? I don't know, dog sitter, whoever. You are going to give them a list of interview questions and they're allowed to choose whichever questions they ask you, and they're going to ask you 3 and you're going to answer them, you're going to record it, and you're going to watch it. So ahead of time, you're going to read those questions and I'm going to show you where to find all those questions, and you're going to have an answer prep. You're going to also, this is before the actual interview, not the mom interview. You're going to research that program and then you're going to practice. The day of the interview, you're going to review some of the important answers, and I will talk a little bit about an elevator speech. You're going to stretch, you're going to get ready. You're going to talk before you turn on the Zoom. Like, don't not talk and then turn on the Zoom. And then you're going to get your water, your coffee, whatever. You're just going to get ready. Okay. All right. I'm going to give you the list of questions and a few slides. But when you research a program, this is very important. It endears you to the program. That is very important because every program thinks they're the best, okay? And every program is probably the best at something. That's what I tell my kids too. It shows your interest in the program and it helps you to know what to highlight about yourself, and it helps you understand how you would fit in the program. And that is very, very important for you. That is what you're doing in deciding which program to go to. There's lots of choices now. This is not just you trying out as hard as you can and whichever program will take you you're going to go. You want to find the program with the best fit. There's lots of different styles of EM education out there. So how do you research the program? Obviously, the program website, social media can give you clues about different aspects of the program, and then faculty bios. If you get a list of which faculty is interviewing you, you will look really impressive if you look at that faculty bio online and have something to say to the faculty member. Okay. So Dr. Hoelle, I noticed that you are the EMS director at North Florida. Is that Alachua County? I mean, you don't have to say that, but how did you become an EMS director? You know, it's just, you'll have something to say. All right, questions you'll be asked. You can Google EMRA residency interview guide, or you can use this QR code. EMRA has done a fantastic job putting this document together. The residency interview guide has questions you will be asked and questions you can ask or should ask it, you know, if you're given the opportunity. And it's just written as a document and it's down the line. So this is the document that you email to your mom, sister, brother, vet, what did we say? Dog walker, whatever we said. That's the list you're going to email, and they get to pick whichever question because you don't know which question you'll be asked. Now, I would tell you that all of you are very smart. If you read through the questions, you will notice that you can start grouping the questions into similar categories. Like, what's your greatest strength? You know, there's lots of different ways to ask that. And I would say that when you're reading through the questions, you will start to form ideas of how you would answer them. And I want you to be prepared. The second document is on SheMD, which is a website that's really fantastic. Not just saying that because the authors are personal friends and amazing faculty at Jacksonville, actually. They have really put together an amazing website geared at helping most females, but it's generalizable, honestly, a lot of it, females before medical school, and then they broadened it to medical school. This specific piece will help you come up with a strategy and maybe more something that would help you more than some other people. So I put both of these documents up available to you guys. All right. Answering questions can be very scary, anxiety invoking. I want you to look at them as opportunities because the program's over here on this side of the internet. You're over here on this side of the internet. You've read their, you know, you've looked at their Instagram, you've read their website, whatever the case may be. Questions are ways for you to get the program information about you and to make a good impression and to reach out and connect with that person. So every question on that sheet, because I really think it's very comprehensive, that document is an opportunity for you to share with the program something about yourself and is an opportunity. Questions to ask is on the same document. It's when medical students ask me questions that they really want to know, I'm totally in, I'm totally fine with that. I'm not one of those people who wants people to ask questions, but it is a little nerve-wracking if you are at an interview and the person, I don't know, your interviewer is just kind of like, well, do you have any questions? You need to have an answer ready for that, whether it's a question to ask. And I would hope that you had some time to look at the website, et cetera, and have written down some comments or questions. And that makes it much more authentic conversation versus having like a standard question you always ask, but always have a backup. So this is a list of questions that you can have in your back pocket or actually right there in front of you to go ahead and ask when asked if you have any questions. All right. Questions are opportunities. So I have some don'ts. So don't ask questions that have been answered on the website. Okay. If there's a video posted on the website or a letter from the program director, don't ask questions. Make sure you look at them and read them because the program puts time in those videos, for example, and people notice if you don't know those things about the program. The other place to find answers to questions is on the EMRA Hangouts or the EMRA Match. So make sure you do your homework so that you're not asking questions that are already posted and pretty obvious if you looked at the front page of their website. Okay, this is Dr. Passerstein, and he actually works Thomas Jefferson. He's a delightful human being, incredibly smart, and he used to be the co-chair on the advising students committee, and he was one of the people I worked with recently to do a 4th year forum for EMRA, and he asked his residents, and I asked my residents who had recently interviewed, for advice that they wish they had had during interviews to do their virtual interview. And so we put that together. One advice that kept coming up, is put the camera at eye level. So use a camera stand if you're, a computer stand if you're using your laptop camera, even just stacking your laptop up on textbooks, or if you listen to me, get a webcam and put it up, stacked up, so that the camera's at eye level and you're not looking down. Minimize the video box and put it directly under your camera. This is a great trick. Love it. Use headphones or microphone to improve your voice quality. Like I said, if most webcams have a built-in microphone, if you are having to do an interview in a not incredibly private place, then headphones are definitely a must because they will cut down on ambient noise. Okay. Get a phone number to call in case there are technical problems. Look up your interviewers if possible. Write down some examples of what you talked about. This was said in the context of after the interview, you need to debrief with yourself right then and there so that at the end of the interview trail, you will have that information collated in real time. One advice was go to all the pre-interview activities and socials. One bit of advice was they felt that scheduling your top choices in the middle of interview season was a great choice because you had some experience under your belt, but it's not at the end of the season, which becomes very, very exhausting. Have a phone nearby. I think a phone is a great backup to technology. Like you could have all of this stuff, but if your computer cuts out, you have a phone, and doing an interview is more important than delaying something with equipment. Log in 5 to 10 minutes prior to start time. This allows time to troubleshoot, and put the camera on when you log in and introduce yourself. This was the advice from the coordinators, and I think that it's great advice. This is a QR code towards how to navigate virtual interviews. They discuss some of our topics as well. And I believe this document was written in 2020 when virtual interviews were kind of a new thing, and now we have a bit of experience in them, and you guys have done through your education, most of you have done a lot of virtual learning and interaction on virtual platforms, so you're better prepared than your interviewers. Okay, any questions or anything that I could help you guys with? Anything that did not come up that you have questions about? Good to see you, Kelsey. All right, I don't see anything in the chat. Is that correct? Thank you, Farah. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If anybody needs anything at all, then you can DM us. And we'd be happy to answer. If you guys would like to know more about meetings and opportunities for medical students, please join our roster and we'll keep you well informed. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.